Welcome to the Hump Day Hangout podcast by Semantic Mastery, where we answer your local SEO questions every week at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm Adam Moody, and my partner at Semantic Mastery, Bradley Benner, will be sharing his decades of expertise based on not only helping others, but running his own agencies and businesses in the space. If you'd like to join us live on YouTube each week, just go to www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. If you'd like to ask a question ahead of time, go to the same link, www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at any time and submit it there. Don't forget, you can get the Semantic Mastery Local SEO Toolkit for free at the same URL. Okay, let's get going with this episode. All right, we are apparently live. Everybody, we had some technical issues, but this is episode 542 of Hump Day Hangouts, and we're going to make sure that everything is going okay here. So I guess, Bradley, let me get you the streaming link and send that to you, or did you already see it?
I've got it. I'm going to have to update the website, the redirect.
So everybody, like I was saying, we've been having some technical issues. Found out shortly before we were trying to go live that Zoom is completely down. So we're going to get this taken care of. Then we'll hop into answering your local SEO questions. A quick shout out for the channel. If you are watching the replay and you would like to get your SEO questions answered, you have kind of two options. You can always join us live at 4 p.m. Eastern by going to semanticmastery.com/HDHO. You can also use that exact same link, semanticmastery.com/HDHO. And when we're not live, it'll bring you to a page where you can pop in your question ahead of time, which is great because that way Bradley can go through the questions and check those out. But if you are live, you can clarify because sometimes the question is, it's vague or there's a meaning we're not sure of. So attending live is a great way to make sure that you get your question fully answered. Beyond that, subscribing to the YouTube channel is another great way. We take Hump Day Hangouts every week and we cut out all of the questions and answers and publish those. So you will get notified of those. And we occasionally put out some subscriber-only content that is really good as well. So I highly suggest that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're not already on the email list, head over to semanticmastery.com, join the email list. All right, Bradley, any other technical stuff we need to take care of?
Well, I guess the chat box is still there. I just had to pop it up. So yeah, that's all right. I mean, this is just weird. Threw me off because we're not in Zoom and we're using Meet for the very first time to try to do this. So I'm a bit out of place, out of sorts right now, but it looks like we have the chat box still available, so we should be okay. So yeah, other than that, things are good.
All right, yeah, I'm just switching accounts. I logged into YouTube. So again, if you're watching the replay, fast forward a little bit. But I'm going to make sure I'm signed in as Semantic Mastery, and it looks like it's working. So cool. Well, then we'll default to a quick Bradley. Besides everything technically going wrong, how are you doing?
Things are good, man. Busy as well as normal. Actually, a bit overwhelmed. I had like 8 or 9 audit orders come in the past few days, and like at least 12 competitive link analysis orders with the video review. And fuck, I got to figure out a way to limit the amount of orders that I can take in a week because I've been overwhelmed with nonstop doing audits. I can't get any productive work when I'm always looking at other people's campaigns. You know what I mean? So it's been a fucking nightmare this week. It's been nonstop. And, but yeah, I mean, it's good. It leads to more business. It always does. But it's one of those things where it's like, I've got to have some sort of rate limiter as to how much I can do in 1 week. You know what I mean? Because then I start getting complaints about when is my audit going to be delivered? Sorry, man. Until I can manufacture more hours into the day, I don't know how it's going to get done. I mean, only one person. So, but overwhelm is a good thing to have. So I'd rather be that than not enough.
Fair enough. Hey, Chris, we are live and glad you joined us. Just talking to Bradley about how things are going besides technically everything going wrong today, but we're back up on our feet and streaming live. So, Chris, how you doing today?
Doing good. Was trying to join the other app, but now we're all here and glad that I'm here as well. Other than that, weather is pretty good. Warm weather. At the same time, I've pretty much spent most of the time working inside, so not much use for me at the moment.
Man, well, you guys can kiss my butt. It was snowing this morning, and then snowing late morning, and then snowing this afternoon. So, yeah, it's like, man, I am ready for it. We're now technically in the second half of April. I'm ready for some warmer weather. So, well, Bradley, you ready to get into questions?
Yeah, as ready as I'm going to be with this weird arrangement we got today. So,
Alrighty.
sure, let's do it. Let me grab the screen. If I can find where that is. Guess I'll grab the whole entire screen. There we go. All right. So we're going to start. We had some questions left from last week because I was in a restaurant last week and it was difficult to get through everything quickly. I was on a Chromebook, so everything was also strange last week. 2 weeks in a row, damn it. So, all right, here's the first question. This one is from Alan. You zoom in on this a little bit. It says, hi, I'm looking for some clarity on whether I'm focusing on the right things. My niche is home remodeling, and my current plan is to build and rank sites in this space. Then either sell the leads or rent out the sites following the DHA model. I'm considering joining the mastermind for a month to access the SOPs and gain a deeper insight. Since that's the main thing holding me back right now, would you say that this is a solid approach? Sure. We have full SOPs that you can get access to, and then staying in the community is how you get additional support. But that's perfectly fine if you want to just come in and get what you want to get and get out of there. Like, after a month, that's fine too. Because just understand that the support is in the mastermind, right? So if you're not an active member in the mastermind, then you can ask questions here at Hump Day Hangouts that I will answer conceptually. But as far as specific support for things, then that's what the mastermind is for, right? So just to be clear about that. But yeah, that's certainly something that you could do. Would the mastermind be the best fit, or would a hyperlocal lead gen system be more aligned with my goals? The hyperlocal lead gen system is the mastermind. It's just promoted in a way to where it's specific to one part of the mastermind. And the whole reason why we did that is just because I think some people think of a mastermind sometimes as just like a community. Well, that's not it. That's where we keep our mastermind is where all the SOPs are. It's where all the training programs are. It's how you get support at any time, because you have direct access to me in the community plus the other community members. And then every single Thursday I do a webinar. One is a traditional kind of webinar where I'm doing presenting, and there's a chat box and everybody asks questions and chats about whatever it is that I'm training on. The other webinar that I do on the other Thursdays, so every 2 weeks I do a webinar. Then on the Thursdays that I don't do the webinar, I do the Build with Bradley meeting, which is a Zoom meeting, which is an actual discussion group. So again, I offer personalized support via the webinars or Build with Bradley meetings, as well as the community access. Plus, that's where all the SOPs are, all the training programs are, all of that kind of stuff. So the whole point is that the local lead gen system, or the hyperlocal lead gen system, was just taking components out of that, the package, or bundle them up into a more of a kind of a product launch that would be relevant to some specific part of what it is that we provide in the mastermind, just to see if that could generate some interest a different way. So it's 6 in one, half dozen in the other. Does that make sense? So in either case, yes, that's the best approach in my opinion, because that way you can get the SOPs that you need, and then you'll have support for at least as long as you're in the community. Okay, next question. What's your process for building links to organic assets only, foundation links for the first couple of months, then niche edits and guest posts, or something more aggressive? No, I build links with topical relevance or geographic relevance, depending on what site it is that I'm building to. For example, the local lead generation site that I use, the root domain, which is just basically a directory of locations. That's what that is, a directory page that lists all the individual location sites with an internal link to the individual location site. So for those, I focus mostly on topical links with topical relevance to push to build links to that directory page, essentially, which is the directory of locations, so subdomain sites. Then on the individual subdomain sites, we do a combination of links with topical relevance and links with geographic relevance. And then for all of my own local SEO clients, not lead gen assets, but for local SEO client assets, when they have a retainer, when they are paying me via a monthly retainer, then I will go in and buy one or two, depending on the retainer level, typical like guest post type or niche edit types of links where the metric that I'm actually purchasing really is traffic. I'm still going to only buy links that have proper relevance as well. So it means I'm only going to buy links on sites that have the appropriate topical categories that I need for what I'm linking to. But I will go to a traditional link provider that offers guest posts and niche edits where what they are selling you is a combination of DRDA and traffic metrics. It's not usually relevance that they're, I mean, you're usually going to get page level relevance from those links, but very unlikely or not common. It's fairly uncommon to get links that are placed onto blogs that have domain level relevance as well. They typically are going to be page level relevance, but they're going to charge you for the DA, the DR, and the traffic metrics of that site. What I look for is I don't give a damn about the DA or the DR. I haven't cared about that metric for years, or either of those. What I care about is it relevant, number one, and number two, does it have traffic? Maybe to the page, but as long as it's got traffic to the domain, that's what I really am paying for, is the link from a source that has traffic. That's what I'm paying for. It's still going to have relevance. And so I do that for my local SEO clients, my own local SEO clients, meaning not my white label clients, but my retail clients, the clients that the business owner clients that I provide SEO services to, right? So for those, whatever the retainer is, if most of my tree contractors are roughly $1,000 a month is the average retainer, but I do have some contractors that are at $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month, depending on how competitive the area it is, how large of a service area it is that they're targeting, et cetera. And so for those, for most of my clients, I order one of those kind of niche edits or guest posts per month, or not per month, excuse me, per quarter. So once every 3 months, I will go, because they're expensive. They're like $200 starting, $200 per link. So I will buy one link every quarter for the lower retainer value clients. And for the higher retainer value clients, I will buy 2 links per quarter. So of those. So I focus on links with proper topical or geographic relevance for all of my clients. That's what I focus on. But occasionally, I will buy a niche edit or guest post from a traditional link provider that is selling links based upon DA and DR and traffic. And the only metric that I care there is about traffic. And I'm also going to try to select only sites that are relevant. I don't do that for lead gen assets though, because it's not cost effective. They're expensive links. So for those, I just focus on the links that I can build that are, built in-house by my team through my own assets, so to speak, which is what I use with for topical links and niche, topical and geographically relevant links. Okay. So that's about it. Then by the way, once you have a paying client in a particular area, if you assign that lead gen site to them, which is what I do, then you can use a portion of their budget every month. Take a percentage of it, whatever you feel comfortable with, 10, 15%, something like that of their budget, and build links to your asset, right? Then you can, you can buy more links, you can build more links, you can buy more expensive links, whatever it is that you want to do. But now you're using a portion of your client's budget to pay for the links that are going to support your assets. And there's nothing ethically wrong with that, because that site is assigned to them while they are a paying client. So it's going to benefit them. The benefit for you is if they decide they want to cancel at some point, you retain the links that have been pointed to your asset that they paid for, that was benefiting them while they were a member of your, while they were using your services, right? While they were a client. But when they leave, then, they're going to retain the work that you did for them, unless you're one of those types that goes through and takes it all down. I don't, because that's work. And I'm not paying somebody to go take all those links down. So every link that my clients purchase are permanent, except for one type, which has a renewal fee, but it's an annual renewal fee of only $25 for an entire year to be renewed again. But all the links that I place are permanent. But if the client, part of the reason I started developing the DHA program was because I got tired of, in my industry, the tree service industry, every single winter, I lose a significant portion of my clients because it slows down, the work volume slows down, and they typically want to pause their campaigns until a later date. But the problem with pausing their campaigns is a lot of the time the SEO was done so well that they're still ranking in the spring when it starts to be busy again. And so they don't not, a percentage of them come back, but a lot of them do not, at least not immediately. They might come back later on during the season. And so I got tired of that. And I said, I'm going to, figure out a way to retain value from the client even after they've left. And that's why I started developing this the DHA program, was so that it wasn't so that I could sell it to you guys. I developed it for my own specific agency needs because of the industry that I work in. And then I realized that that could be valuable to others as well that are in similar industries, right? They could use that model in their own agency to therefore, it's not going to prevent churn, but it's going to help you to continue benefiting from that client even after they've churned, because you will retain the links that you used a portion of their budget for, to build links to your assets, to power up your assets. Does that make sense? So again, you don't want to be very aggressive with those things because they're still assets that you own and control, and you hopefully want them to be long-term assets. So I recommend, being careful and, building links with proper relevance, topical and geographic. And then once they start to rank, you use them as a sales tool. Then you use that to help sell your services to a client in that area. And then you use a portion of their budget once you close the client, to build links to your asset to help power that up and continue further the performance of that asset. And then, like I said, even if they cancel, guess what? You keep it. It's still your asset. You still get the benefit from the links that they built to it. And then you can remonetize that with one of their competitors in the same freaking area, and then start the whole process over again, or can really not start it over, but continue the process where now you're using the next client's budget to continue building links to it. Hopefully that's clear. James says, can you go over exactly what you do for the review management service? Yeah, I pulled this up actually just so that I would have this available. So I'm going to just give you guys a quick example. This is one of my clients that that we implemented this for. One of the first clients that I implemented this for, actually. And, as part of, like, once I really refined everything for just tree service contractors, and sorry, what I was looking for was the reputation management, the reputation monitor, excuse me. So you'll see that we started this one in December, is when he hired TrueCare HQ. So we started the review management service for him in December, and so in December when we started, he had 103 reviews. We got his 2024 contact list, so his customer list from 2024. We got that from him in December, and formatted the list, cleaned it, deduped it, all the kind of stuff that we typically do, and then we added that into the initial review campaign. And so you can see we were able to generate 59 reviews for him off of his customer list, which I think was like 180 customers or something like that. We generated, so basically a third of them, which is a pretty damn good response rate. I'll show you the workflow and the process inside High Level in just a minute. But so basically a third of the contacts that he had in his contact list, which we didn't, by the way, we didn't like blast the whole 180 contacts in 1 month. That would be stupid. Don't do that, guys. If you're going to do a review generation campaign from a past customer list, you only take a segment of that list and add it into the initial review campaign, right? Because you do not want to, you don't want to shoot your wad, so to speak, all at once. Like, in other words, you don't want to use up the whole entire contact list in a short period of time, because what is the incentive for them then to keep paying you monthly, right, for the reviews management service if you blow through the entire list very quickly? Not only that, but you can also, it can produce a significant improvement or performance gain, for the Google Business Profile very quickly when you get a whole flood of reviews in very quickly. But then if you don't keep review velocity coming in consistently, then the rankings can start to drop again, and fairly rapidly too. So it's important, in my opinion, to set up a review campaign, an initial review campaign when you start a service, where you take a percentage of them. And I think I took 50 names out of it, maybe 60, maybe it was a third, whatever it was. And I put them into the drip campaign, kind of aggressive. Like, I think I did 10 emails in SMSs per day, because the way, and I'll show you in High Level how it works. But when you add a contact to the campaign, to the workflow, it's going to send out emails and SMSs to the contact. and ask for a review. And there's a sequence, and it's all done by trigger links, so that, or if they reply, so either via trigger link or reply, it will determine it will update the contact in the pipeline, or the opportunity pipeline, excuse me, so that you know what stage it is or what actions that contact has taken or not taken, depending on where they are in the pipeline. And so I did something like, I think it was like maybe 10 or 20 review requests per day for the first 10 days or whatever it was. And then after that, it just went to a standard drip rate, which was like, I think 3 review requests per day, Monday through Friday, or something like that is what I had it set at. And so you can see we added 59 reviews in the first month, and then we added another 12 reviews in January, and then another 11 reviews in February, and now we're at 6 reviews as of April right now, an additional 6 reviews, or at the start of April, excuse me, it was 191. And so then lastly, the last part of this is there currently with this particular contractor, I just have a landing page set up that him or his assistant, he hired like an office admin assistant. Her name is Alex. I just had a meeting with her again this morning. She either the contractor or his assistant will at the end of every day just go visit the landing page URL. That's just a form basically for them to submit the jobs that they close that day, the contact. So all it asks for is name, phone number, and email. And all it needs is one or the other, either phone number or email, or both if they have it. We request both of them, but one or the other, and that's all it needs to add it to the campaign. So you can see it is definitely a good system that works. Now, this is the pipeline, the opportunity pipeline for reviews. I've got 3 pipelines in this sub account. It's called Smart Reviews. The app or the script that I use for that is from GHL Smart Reviews, just so you guys are aware. It is a paid script that you add to your high-level agency account. And so this is the one that I'm using. Just to be clear, I'm going to pause the screen, and you can check it out. It's from Think Big. GHL Smart Apps, I think, is the name of the company now that he calls it. But it's this guy, Jason Orban, who runs it. And so you can always just look up GHL Smart Reviews if you want and figure. And it is you have to buy the script. I bought a lifetime license for $1,000 or something like that. And then you integrate it with a high-level agency account so that then it's available for all the sub accounts that you deploy from that agency account. Okay, hopefully that's clear. So then I went in and modified it, and made some changes and everything, because I don't want a review gate. I don't want any of that stuff. But this is what it is. So I'll just show you the new review request whenever you add. So there's 242 contacts in this pipeline for reviews. You see that there's 21 current new opportunities in the new review request pipeline. We had 25 that have unsubscribed since we've started this. We've had 108 that have clicked or completed the sequence, the review request sequence, which is a series and combination of SMS and emails, and they did not click or respond. Because if they click the link that is in, and I'll show you what the messages look like in a moment, but if they click the link that is in the review request SMS or email, then it's automatically going to move them into the completed campaign clicked column. So you understand? Or if they reply back to the message request with something that is affirmative, a positive reply, then it will also update it and moved it over here, because it means they've replied to that campaign. It's an acknowledgement that they have received and either responded or taken action from that message. Does that make sense? Then right after that action has occurred, whether they click the trigger link or they reply to the email or to the SMS, then 7 minutes later, it recognized that action, it moved the opportunity card into this stage of the pipeline. That is the trigger. That card being moved into that stage of the pipeline, that opportunity card, is the trigger action for then there's a wait step that says 7 minutes. So it waits 7 minutes, and then it sends out another SMS asking that contact, did they leave a review? And all they have to do is click a trigger link, said just click the link to confirm, or reply back with yes. And as long as they either click the next trigger link, which is another trigger link that is a confirmation, it's them confirming that they left a review, or if they reply back and say yes, or something in the affirmative, so yes, sure, I did, something like that, then it's going to automatically move it to review confirmed. If they do not reply to this, then it's going to keep them in this column. And then that's where a VA, so for example, his Box Tree Care's administrative assistant, Alex, she can come in and go check the reviews on Google Business Profile to confirm whether or not they have left a review. Then if they click the confirmation link, which is a trigger link, or they reply that they have left a review, it automatically moves them into the review confirmed stage, which sends out a thank you message. It says, you know, thank you for leaving us a review, blah, blah, blah. But if they don't click that or reply to it, then somebody on the company's team can go in and manually review the reviews in Google Business Profile and then move the cards into the appropriate the review completed or review confirmed column once it's been confirmed. And then again, it will send out a thank you message to the contact for leaving a review. The ones that did not click, these are the ones that did not click or reply to the original sequence, they get put into here. And then there's another, there's kind of an automation here that when they go into here, that if they go into a hold pattern for 90 days or 180 days, by default it's 180, but I'm playing with the timing. And then they will automatically get added back as part of another workflow. They're automatically going to get added back into the new review request campaign at the end of that hold period, if that makes sense, right? And or if they unsubscribe, then they're D&D'd from any review requests, if that makes sense, meaning do not disturb or do not contact. Okay, so that's it. That's the pipeline. It's all automated, or at least semi-automated until it gets down to here. And then I'll show you very quickly the automations, the workflows. So that's under Smart Reviews. A very basic review generation campaign that is managed from default or native high-level integration or high-level services is DHA review generation. But for all paying clients, I always recommend that we do the smart, where if it's a client paying for the reviews service, the reviews managed service, we manage that under the Smart Reviews, which again, this is it. So this is showing like the review request campaign. We've had 341 people enter it. We currently have 340 people in the hold for 90 days, which again, 102 have been kind of made it through that first initial 90-day period. That's what I was saying earlier, right? So those get reinserted back into the review request campaign after that 90-day hold period, right? And then there's the smart clicked trigger link. So that's meaning that's the click the trigger link and it updates the opt. That's the first trigger link that moves them to the campaign clicked stage of the pipeline, right? So you can see there's a trigger link for reviews unsubscribed that removes them only from that particular sequence. That way they can still receive notifications for job appointments and everything else. We do not want to fully DND that contact. We only want to DND them from the review request campaign. So essentially unsubscribe them from that campaign, not actually set them as do not contact or do not disturb. Does that make sense? So that's what those are for. The review link click, that's the confirm review trigger link, which by the way, if we just go over to sites, and then I'll show you guys this email sequences and message sequences as well. But if we go, we got to go to marketing trigger links. There's the trigger links. See what I'm saying? So these are all, again, everything I do is I try to do via custom values, which are all short code driven. But you can see that that's essentially because the URLs from within the Smart Reviews funnel, et cetera, they're all part of, I've got them added as custom values. So that way it just makes this easier when deploying this. If we go back to the automation, just let me quickly show you this to you. If we go back to Smart Reviews, you'll see this first automation here is what's called a custom value updater automation. So right after I sell the client on a reviews management service, I'm going to send them to the Smart Reviews intake form. And then they're going to complete that form, and this automation here automatically updates all those custom values. That's what these are, custom values updaters. So the client submits their information. This automation here automatically updates all the custom values, and that all the automations and the sequences, the unsubscribe trigger links, all of the trigger links, which includes an unsubscribe link, all of those are all built via custom or short codes, which are custom values, so that when the client submits that form, which I'll show you that now, Smart Reviews forms, service intake form. And actually, I wanted to hit previews. Let's do that. So when they fill this out right here, then that automatically updates all the relevant custom values so that that whole Smart Reviews workflow and automations and everything, trigger links, everything's basically done. So it makes it super easy for me to deploy this into or activate this into my client sub accounts. And again, I built all that intentionally for it to be easy to deploy and set up, right? Efficient to set up. All right. So last thing we'll look at is we're going to go to marketing snippets, because this is where I keep the emails. Actually, I might have put this one in just direct into the automation. Yeah, I did. More recently, I've been adding the message sequences all as marketing snippets and then just selecting those snippets in the workflow, because I think it's easier to manage. It's easier to find stuff when they're all in one, in the snippet section of the marketing area of the sub account. And that's something recently that I just started doing. So anyways, we'll just go back to Smart Reviews and look at the sequence. So here is the review request campaign. And I need to probably update this to make them snippets instead. But here it is, review request form submitted. So by the way, I meant to show that to you real quick before we jump into that. So this is the funnel. The only thing that we use here though is this one, which is the add review to add. This is for the client. So you give this to your client, in my case, the contractor, Box Tree Care. And all they do is whenever at the end of every job or once per day at the end of the day, for any jobs that were closed during the day, and you see this is on a domain, a subdomain that was optimized. I owned the domain rating.page. I paid like almost $1,000 for that domain. And that's what I use, the same domain for all of my sub accounts, for all my clients. So it's their brand name .rating.page/ad. So any of my clients will get this set up with their specific company name there, and then it's on .rating.page/ad. And then all they do is come in and put the customer's name, email, and or phone. It's got to be one or the other or both. And then they hit request review, and that automatically submits that contact into that campaign. And then this is the sequence that they, and again, my contractors that are not using the full access of the sub account, the high level app, essentially, which basically none of my contractors want to use the high level app. A couple of them do, but most of them don't want to. They don't like it. That's just not very technically savvy. So they don't have to. That's why I give them this page instead. I tell them, look, and now in like Josh's case or Box Tree Care's case, he has an assistant that can come into the opportunity pipeline and manually review to see if that reviews have been placed or submitted by the contacts, et cetera. But a lot of my tree guys don't. And so I just tell them, well, that's fine. We're going to send the sequence, which I'm going to show you next. And, we're going to try 5 attempts to get a hold of them. And if we can't, then what just happened? What the hell happened to my folders? Then that's it. The Smart Review service will add them back into the review request campaign at whatever interval we decide. Like I said, right now, I'm currently been playing with 90 days. But here is the actual campaign. Right. So when that form is submitted, or if a tag is added that says review request to the contact, so either one of those act as a trigger that will then add them to that workflow. Then it adds the tag. It adds a couple of tags, and then here's the sequence. Okay. So it says, hi, whatever your name is. It's remember the custom values updater form I showed you. So that's going to be the company owner's name. Right. So this would be Josh Box from Box Tree Care. Thank you very much for using our tree service. Would you mind taking 30 seconds to leave us a review? It would really help us out. And it helps other customers, it could be clients, patients, whatever you put here, find a tree care service or tree care company too. Do you understand? That's what these are all tokenized. All of that is completed with short codes. Again, this is that way I can deploy this into other sub accounts for other clients and not have to go manually change all of these messages. It's all done via shortcode, right? That's why we do all that. And it says, just go here to leave your review. And you see that's a trigger link. And then there's a reply stop to unsubscribe, right? So that's the SMS. Then here's the email. And again, everything's tokenized, everything. so that all I have to do is update the custom values and everything is set up. Right? So it basically says the same thing, except this is an email format. And we've got every other day. Well, one day, then we wait a day. So it's every other day for the first two, and then it's wait 3 days, then wait 5 days. So it's something like there's four emails that go out over the course of, I think it's like 10 days or 12 days or whatever it is. Okay. But I mean, it works really, really well. I found it to be one of the best review generation systems that I've ever used. And why I love it is because it's infinitely scalable. Unlike a lot of the other review apps where you pay per location, you don't pay that for this, right? You pay high level, $297 a month or $497 a month, depending on which program plan you're on. But you only need the $297 a month subscription level to use it. And then you pay one time, at least as far as I know, it's still one time, for the GHL Smart Reviews app. I paid lifetime for it anyways. It's $1,000, or that's what I paid for it. And so I paid I pay $300 a month for high level and $1,000 one-time fee for the script, right? And the system that I spent 2 days, well, really 3 days, no kidding, modifying and editing to my liking into the way that I wanted it. But now I can add as many local business clients sub accounts as I want, and there's no additional cost to it. Do you understand? So it's infinitely scalable. The more people that I add into the smart reviews, the more contractors or companies that I sell smart reviews to, which is review management service, the lower it costs per location for me. Does that make sense? Because it's a fixed cost. So the more people that I add, the lower it is per location, which is good. And that's why I think it's a great service. I really do. And I've been promoting this to members of the mastermind for a couple of years now. All right, it's a good question, but I'm going to move on. So hopefully that makes sense. It's a really, really good system. There are some basic integrations, like I said, with high level. You can do some really basic review generation stuff, but it's not nearly as robust. And I don't want to have something that where me or a team member or somebody, a team member of the company, has to go in and constantly monitor and manage reviews. Instead, the way that we have it set up is, once a month, an assistant, whether it's one of my own virtual assistants on behalf of the client, or if it's a client assistant, like one of their assistants, can go into the app and manually review to see which of those contacts that did not confirm their reply actually did leave a review, and then we can move them into the appropriate section. So it works really well. I think it's a good system, and I highly endorse it. It's a good question. Moving on. Are there any downsides to using a random address? Oh, excuse me, Huzzy, I missed your question. He says, how are you getting clients before DHA? Referrals. I did a lot of lead share groups and networks. So like, local networking events. I did BNI a few times, but I hated BNI. I thought they were like the soup Nazis of business networking groups. Like, no shit. I really hated BNI. But I did several meetup groups, like lead share groups, where we would meet, once a week or every other week or whatever. And we would, from all different industries. Usually there would only be allowed 1 seat per industry. That makes sense. And then we would just share referrals from other, from our own client base if we had. So anyways, that was a good way to do it. I also did, so I had referrals in lead share group. And then I was also doing cold or video email, not at scale like what I do now with cold email with the whole directory hybrid agency program. But I started doing doing emails with video emails back in, like, I think 2014 is when I first started that. I think it might have been 2013, but that was at the time, way back then, it was a lot harder to do video emails. So it was now it's so easy to do. It's ridiculous. But that video emails was probably the way that I landed the most of my clients for many years. Because what I would do is just identify a company that needed some help, and then I would reach out to them and tell them that I made them a video showing some things. You guys have probably gotten some of them, not from me, but from other people doing similar things. And I taught about that process for several years too. And that worked really well. The problem with that was there was a lot of videos that were created that would never get watched. So there was a lot of wasted time in that. So once I started the Pre-Care HQ, the directory, I was also using that same process to try to land clients from the to initiate the original conversation, right? To initiate the conversation with cold email using the directory instead of going right into like, hey, I was reviewing your digital presence and I found, because as soon as you start talking about that kind of shit, by the way, when it's a cold outreach, you lose the contact, you lose their interest, their attention. Why? Because they know a solicitation is coming, right? They can smell it a mile away from what it is, like the language that you used in your outreach. So that's why I started using the directory service, or excuse me, the directory as instead, because again, I reach out with my initial outreach email is I'm not approaching them as a marketer or an SEO. My signature line literally says tech specialist with treecarehq.com. And so I'm just asking them to confirm their company's contact information for their free listing on the treecarehq.com directory. And that's all I'm asking. And even, like I said, my signature line doesn't say anything about SEO or marketing or nothing. It says my name, tech specialist with treecarehq.com. And so I'm asking them to confirm their information. And we intentionally leave out important information. We say, here's what we currently have. Please reply back with any corrections or if anything is missing. So we intentionally leave their website out. We put the website colon, but it's empty, meaning there's no value there in the email that gets sent out. We do that intentionally because we want them to reply back and say, yes, that information is correct, but my website's missing. Here it is. Boom. Now we know we've got direct communication with them. And then I've already kind of showed this on Hump Day Hangouts a few times, actually. But from that point, when we get a reply back from them saying, yes, that information is correct, but here, my website is missing, or most of it's correct, but the phone number is now blah, blah, blah. And here, or the service area, because we put the service area as just the city that the GBP was found in. But typically, because of tree contractors, they serve a much larger area. So they're going to say, well, we service all of these areas, and they'll start listing out locations, etc. Doesn't matter. At whatever, when we receive a reply, and a positive reply, the automations that I built into the high level app, as well as the AI integration stuff now, is it will automatic, it waits a few minutes and then it replies back and says, hey, we received your reply. Thanks you for sending the updated information. We're going to get to work on your directory listing. We're going to send it to you in the next 2 days or 3 days or whatever it is for review. And then 7 minutes later or something, a few minutes later, whatever it is, whatever the wait step is in that particular automation, it sends out another SMS and email and saying, hey, by the way, while we're optimizing your listing, how far out do you go for jobs? Like essentially tell us what your service area radius is in miles. And then they reply back. And then we acknowledge the reply. Okay, thank you so much. We're working on this. We're going to optimize your listing and then send it to you for review before publishing. Be on the lookout for us contacting you within the next couple of days. And then once it's done, then we send them a notification asking them to book a call with us so that we can review the listing with them. So at no point have we talked about any marketing services. At no point have we let them know that we're marketing professionals or SEO professionals. None of that. All we're doing is asking them questions about their business, multiple formats, multiple different questions about their business, and building rapport, goodwill with them. And then I try to get them on the call with what's called the listing delivery call, which is also the start of the sales conversation, which is at that point is where I've talked about this many times recently, where when we first get on the call, I say, thanks for booking the call. We're going to cover 2 things on this call. Number one, we're going to review your directory listing, make sure everything is to your liking and accurate. And then number 2, I'm going to introduce or address some issues that we found while optimizing your listing that are preventing you from getting jobs within the areas that you said you wanted to get jobs from. Does it make sense for us to continue this call? And I nod my head like that. And I've never had once a tree service contractor say, no, I'm not interested. I always say, yeah, sure, let's go. And we go. And we cover their listing. That's usually 5 to 7 minutes. And then after that, I introduce the problems that we identified. I explain to them how that's costing them money. And I show them some simple low-cost options to help them to start to overcome those problems. I don't promise that my low-cost options are going to solve their problems. I say these are low-cost options that will help to start to resolve those problems. Why? Because it's true. It's likely going to need a higher level service that they're going to have to ascend to in order to dominate their area or to become number one or whatever. But the low-level service offerings are what we need to at least introduce into their digital marketing presence to start to improve performance. So again, everything that I say is not a bait and switch. It's all accurate and it's true. And we go through that whole process of developing rapport before we ever even let them know that we offer marketing and SEO services. And that's why they're receptive to that message at that point, because we built goodwill with them. And so I used to try to do that with video email by just selecting companies and then just sending them an email. But the problem with that was, again, I would go right into a pitch about, hey, we identified some issues that are preventing you from getting as many jobs online, or, getting work or leads from online, like, as you should or could, because, and I wanted to show you what I found and some of the things that you can do to start to resolve that, and also what I provide. So even a lot of those videos that would get watched, many of which would not get watched, but the ones that would get watched, I still only had a percentage that would end up contacting me back, because they knew that they were going to be sold something, right? So only the most interested ones would actually reply back from that point, which was good, because it was an easy sale then, because then they were already aware of what it was that I was offering and they were interested. So when they did contact me back, it was typically an easy sale, but there was a lot of wasted effort is what I'm saying. And now the kind of process that we've developed is much more automated. Between high level and the AI integration that I have, those two things are pretty much automating that process now, to where all I got to do is get on the listing delivery call with them and then go through that whole process. And I don't try to close them on the call. If they're ready to close on the call, I send them the checkout links. But if they're not ready to close on the call, then that's fine. And I don't try to close them on the call. And I tell them that right up front. I say, look, I'm not even going to try to close you on this call. If I'm going to show you what we found. I'm going to introduce you to some of the solutions that we have that are low cost, that will help you to start to solve these problems. And then afterwards, I'm going to send you some emails after our call today that kind of reinforce what we're discussing today. Is that fair? Does that sound reasonable? And I nod my head, and they say, yeah, sure, that sounds great. And so, well, I have nurture sequences for each of my 3 front-end services. I just added a 4th front-end service, though. I've not added I've not developed the email sequence for that yet. But anyway, so I'm telling you guys, the best way, in my opinion, to land clients is to, other than referrals, because that's by far the best way to land clients, but it's to try to establish some sort of communication, some dialogue with companies or company owners or executives of companies in the industry that you've selected, in a way that is not going right for the jugular, so to speak, right? Because it tends to work a lot better if you can build some sort of, rapport with them before kind of transitioning to, like, hey, we offer these things. They're a lot more receptive that way. If any of you have ever tried to do cold calls or cold emails where you go right into a pitch about whatever products or services is that it's very terrible response. Like, you get shitty response rates and a lot of people mad at you too. So anyway, it's a good question, Lucy. Mark says, are there any downsides to using a random address in the business complex for LOG sites for building citations? Yeah, because I wouldn't do that. I just wouldn't do that. And I wouldn't be building citations for LLG sites, because unless you have a actual business GDP, that makes sense. There's really no reason to do that, in my opinion. Or only use citations that don't require a physical address. And there are some. There's not many, but there's some. But I don't build citations to LOG sites unless I have a GDP for it. Okay. James says, do you include the Calendly links in your email sequences? If so, do you find that it impacts deliverability? Well, I don't use Calendly. I have my own because of high level. Mine is tech.treecarehq.com. So I do include that in my, not in my cold emails, right? We don't, in the cold email sequences, we do not include any links at all. None. It's purely text-based. My cold email sequences are purely text-based. Okay. But in conversational emails, so transactional emails, once they have replied to a cold email sequence, now they're a contact that we have 2-way communication with. So that improves deliverability significantly because they've already replied. And so we do not send any links to any contacts via email until we have their permission to do so. Do you understand? Once we've established dialogue. Okay, so I do not, again, none of my cold email sequences have a link to the booking page or the booking app, the calendar, whatever. It doesn't have that. It's only in conversational emails after they have replied and a 2-way dialogue has occurred. And then we always ask them, you know, like, hey, what would it here, like, especially like the listing delivery, like, well, again, once we get the service area radius and all that kind of stuff, then when we reach out to them, the sequence to ask them to schedule a call for us to go to review their directory listing, that's when we start to send them out a link to the booking right here, because we say, hey, your review is ready, or excuse me, your listing is ready for review. We'd like to jump on a call with you to make sure everything is accurate and to your liking. Please select the time on the calendar here, and we send the link. And then they're either going to book the call, or they're going to reply back and say, well, why do I need a call? Why can't you just send it to me for review? And then the automation says, well, because we identified some issues that are, while optimizing your listing, that are preventing you from getting jobs, and we'd like to address that with you on the call. Please select a time on my calendar. And then they're either going to book the call, or they're going to reply back and say, well, what problems did you identify? And then the automation picks up and says, well, this is where you said you wanted to get jobs from. It sends them an SMS with a short link that goes to the service area radius map that we created based upon what they told us was their service area. And then we say, but this is where you're actually getting jobs from according to Google. Only the areas in green. And then it sends them another short link to a local search grid map that's the same shape as and size as the service area radius that they told us. And usually it's one little speck of green in the middle of a sea of red. And we tell them, you're only getting jobs in the area that's marked green. We'd like to address this with you on the call. Please select a time on the calendar here. That makes sense. Okay. So we do not in any cold emails send any sort of clickable links, period. Because you're right, it affects deliverability. Deliverability considerably. All right, Huzaifa says, due to a penalty, I changed my LLG domain and some of the subdomains are giving duplicate. Google chose different canonical error, even though the old domain and subdomain sites were deleted and removed from Google. I don't know what you mean about that question, Huzaifa. I'm sorry, but if you have your sites set up properly, then your canonical should be explicit. In other words, like, let me just pull in like Albemarle Tree Cares in this, or Albemarle Felling Pro. If you take a look at the canonical here, those are it's an explicit canonical, and that is accomplished in high level, right? If you build or however, I don't know whether you're using high level or not, but the way that I do it is all of this is again done via shortcode, custom values. I can demonstrate that here in Box Tree Care. We're going to go to sites because his site is a high level site. Okay, I practice what I preach. So we're going to come in here and we're going to take a look. By the way, I'll show you custom values in a minute, but this is essentially like if we go in and we look at the homepage just as an example. In high level, you're going to go on to SEO metadata, and you're going to scroll down and go to links and tags. And right there, I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's a shortcode. That's a custom value shortcode. And so every page on the site, that's how we build these sites, is done via shortcode. And so when we upload or do the web form submission, one for each of the 9 forms that we use to build these sites, which is listed right here, the LLG site forms. Each time we submit these forms, so right here, the LLG site URLs, this is the form that we submit when we're deploying the site that has all the page URLs that are already predefined. Before the site's even published, we already know what the page URLs will be. And so we add those here, and when we click submit, it automatically updates the entire site, right? All the internal linking is done. The canonicals are now all set properly. Everything is done because of these forms that we submit. So the site is built through form submission, like 80% of it anyways. Then you still got about 20% of manual editing of the site and modifying and things like that. But about 80% of the site build is done by form submission. That makes sense. And then all of that stuff is clearly set because all of those shortcodes are, I'm not kidding. I spent over 70 hours. I know people think that's crazy, but I spent over 70 hours developing that site template with all those shortcodes and everything, and then all the automations and everything else to do that specifically. I counted my hours, it took me over 70 hours. But if you got the canonical set properly, then that's an explicit canonical. So if the other sites are down and they've been taken down and you've got your canonical set properly, then that shouldn't be a problem. So again, I don't know without more specifics exactly what it is that you're experiencing there. All I can do is tell you that, go set an explicit canonical in the new pages that canonicalize to themselves. That's what you should do. That's essentially what I was showing you in there, is the page should canonicalize to itself. Okay. All right, moving on. Khaled says, I have a solar panel installer as a client. We only got a couple of minutes left, guys. I have a solar panel installer as a client who has 2 Google business profiles but serves customers across 3 states. What do you think would be the best website structure would be? Should I create service area pages for each state and the main cities within those states? If I do that, I'll likely end up with a few hundred landing pages. Do you think Google will have an issue indexing that many pages, or is there a better strategy you recommend? I recommend, personally, if it were me, just like you guys should know from anybody that watches Hump Day Hangouts for long, I would have a separate subdomain site for each location. Well, you have 2 Google business profiles, but serves 3 states. Yeah, so that's a little bit harder. That's a little bit harder. If you had 3 Google business profiles, 3 different states, I would have a separate state subdomain for each state. But if you've got one that overlaps into 2 different states, which apparently you do, that would make it a little bit trickier. Well, then yeah, I may do it on one domain, all on the same domain, but then just create proper silo structure. And yes, I would have the top level categories. The top of silo for the location silos would be state-based. And then I may have subcategories for underneath each state for counties, but likely I would just go from state to metropolitan region instead of counties. Does that make sense? Because there's going to be less metropolitan regions in a state than there are counties. And metropolitan regions typically contain or include multiple counties. So that would be a way to reduce, so much optimization on the geographic, like as far as like all the proper hierarchy. I'd probably go straight from state to metropolitan area. And then any of the supporting locations within each metro area would be published as posts, right? Now you're going to have a post that's placed into a subcategory, the subcategory being a metropolitan area that falls within a particular state. Typically, sometimes metro areas cover multiple states, and that, again, creates a new challenge. But you could create a separate top-level category, geographic category for a metro area, region, a region that is a multi-state region, if needed. So again, this is all stuff that I cover in the mastermind, guys. I will give you, like literally in the mastermind, you could ask this question, and I would take one of our Thursday webinars and show you exactly how I would build that site out with a demo site, right? I do that kind of stuff all the time. So I can't really answer that here as much as more than just conceptually like I just did. Come join the mastermind, man. I'm happy to provide you specific guidance on how I would structure that site. Okay. All right, guys, I think we need to wrap up. Unfortunately, we didn't get to all of them, but that's because a couple of them were a little bit more involved today, but kind of a challenge with this odd setup today anyway.
Bradley had a question, one question you might want to answer. Sanjay was asking about pay-per-call and then your backlinks on Vetted, if you want to check that out real quick.
Okay. Hey, what's up, guys, in the chat? Sanjay says, I'm doing pay-per-call and focusing on the dumpster rental niche. I created several sites, but all the main keywords are on page 3 to 4. I created foundational links, citations, but rankings are not improving. Well, a couple things is, check page structure or page and site structure. Because remember, you can't just optimize at the page level anymore. Pages are considered a small part of a larger whole. So you have to optimize the entire site, the proper internal link. So the site, I look at it this way. We start with page level, page structure and page level optimization. Through that process, it's structuring the page properly. Then that's going to help to determine the overall site architecture. So how do you relate that page to the other pages on the site that you want Google to understand about who the business is, what they do, and where they do it? And so I always start at page level, but that helps me determine how I would structure the site. And I would recommend, look, if even in competitive niches, you can find low competition areas to test in so that you can determine what is the most effective on-page configuration. Because in low competition areas with just proper on-page, you should be able to get to page 1 or damn near it without any links at all. Does that make sense? Just get it indexed. And that's how I test for structure. What is the proper on-page optimization for this type of a campaign that I'm working on? By testing in low competition areas. Again, we teach this in the DHA program in the mastermind. How to identify low competition areas that you can then test configurations on. And once you figured out the best performing configuration, then that's what you apply to all locations. And then it would be a matter of doing competitive link analysis, which we also have public training right here on our YouTube channel that you can search for competitive link analysis. And from our YouTube, just use the channel search feature, and you can go through the process of doing competitive link analysis, where you're actually analyzing the backlink profiles of the top 5 ranked competitors for the search queries in the specific locations that you want to rank for. And then you can determine from that, where are your deficiencies as far as backlinks. And that tells you the number of links, the anchor text ratios, the topical categories of those links, all of that stuff. Again, that is free training that's available on our YouTube channel, or if you come to the mastermind, or you could buy a competitive link analysis from me at Semantic Links. And there's also SOPs for how to do all of that in the mastermind. Okay. Sanjay says, if I buy your niche relevant backlinks embedded, then in how many days I can see the improvement in the rankings? I would say roughly 3 to 4 weeks. Sometimes sooner, but I'm not going to promise or mention any time sooner than that, because Google is slow to index and crawl everything now. And so we submit the links right before, once they're placed, before we deliver them, we submit them to indexers, but it could take 2 to 3 weeks before Google will pick them up. So typically you're going to see some sort of benefit from those links within 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, hopefully that's clear. But again, get a competitive link analysis, man. Don't just go buy links without using data to determine what types of links you need, what the anchor texts are, all of that kind of stuff. Topical relevance. We have a competitive link analysis report offer or service that is available inside Vetted as well. So you can go check that out and buy that. We'll give you recommendations on what type of links, the anchor text, topical relevance, all of those things, so that then when you place your order, you know that you're placing an order with the proper data. Okay. Okay, guys, I got to jump. So thanks everybody for being here. I'll pick back up on those questions from this week that I missed next week, and we'll see everybody next week. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.